And amidst anger over lawlessness in Rajasthan, the Gehlot government has passed a bill that bans protests with dead bodies. This will now invite imprisonment up to 5 years once the law is enacted. The bill empowers the district administration to seize a body and conduct last rites. According to the bill, if a family member does not take possession of a dead body, he shall be punished with imprisonment for up to 1 year, or with a fine, or with both. Protest with a dead body or giving consent for it will invite imprisonment up to 2 years and fine. And if someone other than a family member uses the body for staging a protest, they shall be punished with jail between 6 months to 5 years, along with a fine. But what added salt to the injury of families who've lost their loved ones to lawlessness in the state is the shocking justification of the Parliamentary Affairs Minister of the state. Shanti Dhariwal, while speaking in the State Assembly, said that it has become a dhanda or a business for people to use the body to demand money or jobs, and that the law intends to put a stop to such activities.
परिजन द्वारा मृत शरीर का कब्जा नहीं लिया जाता है तो 1 वर्ष का सजा दी गई। मृत शरीर का उपयोग धरना प्रदर्शन के लिए करता है तो 2 वर्ष की सजा है। तो ये सब सजाएं इसीलिए रखी गई हैं कि ये जो जिस प्रकार का लोगों ने धंधा बना रखा है और जिस प्रकार का दबाव डाल करके इस प्रकार की एक्टिविटीज करते हैं उसमें रोक लगे, और ताकि जो है परिजन भी इस प्रकार के धरने प्रदर्शन की इजाजत न दें।
The BJP was quick to slam the Gehlot government for belittling the agony and pain of mourners, saying that it's the state government's failure to deliver justice that compels victims' families to stage a protest with the dead body. The Saffron Party also took on the Congress Party over its Save Democracy page, calling the bill passed in the Rajasthan Assembly a reminder of the emergency period when all rights to protest were suspended.
को लेकर के बैठने के लिए क्यों मजबूर होता है? मजबूर परिजनों की आवाज सुनाने का माध्यम क्या होगा? पहले ऑल्टरनेटिव मैकेनिज्म तो आप बनाइए। वो जाकर के कहां गुहार लगाएगा? कल तो कन्हैयालाल जैसे किसी और भी दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण होगा कि किसी और व्यक्ति का धमकी दे करके, एलानिया धमकी दे करके गला काट दिया जाएगा और सरकार लीपापोती करेगी। उसके बाद में ये कहेगी कि आप शव को लेकर के नहीं बैठेंगे। उनको कानून की वैकल्पिक व्यवस्था क्या होगी, इसके बारे में विधानसभा के पटल पर विस्तार से बात करनी चाहिए थी।
ये कानून आपातकाल की याद दिला देता है, जबकि सारे लोकतांत्रिक अधिकार का हनन हो जाए। शव बॉडी का है, उसका सम्मान होना चाहिए, इसमें किसी की शायद असहमति नहीं हो सकती। यानी कहीं प्रोटेस्ट करने का उसमें कोई प्रावधान ही नहीं। यह तो एक तरह से मीसा कानून की याद दिलाता है, जब कोई सुनवाई नहीं, जो हम कहें उसका करो।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
For more on this, we're joined by Rakhi Rathore, state spokesperson in Rajasthan of the BJP. Dilip Cherian, founder of Perfect Relations, is with us. Kasturi Shankar, actress, is with us. Kabir Zaman Chaudhary, leader of the Congress Party, is with us, as is Avishkar Singhvi, advocate in Supreme Court. Nisha Sidhu, State General Secretary of the National Federation of Indian Women Rajasthan, is also with us on this broadcast. Let me start first and foremost with, some of our panelists. Dilip Cherian, do you think that in modern day India, in 2023, a state government can actually stop people from protesting? We all know the abysmal standards of government, and this isn't about Rajasthan. This is a bigger national problem. There are people whose voices will not be heard unless they take extreme measures like this. Who wants to protest, for instance, with their family members' mortal remains? They are forced to take this step. Unfortunately, you have a situation where the state believes this has become a dhanda. Now, what's more shocking than this?
I think this is most unfortunate, and I find it reprehensible for 2 reasons. One, that I'm a bit of a free protest absolutionist, just as I'm a free speech absolutionist. And I think that the right to protest is only taken up by those who are desperate enough to make sure that the state hears them. The second reason why I think that the timing of this is absolutely incorrect and foolish is that you are heading into elections in Rajasthan. What is the point that you're trying to make by bringing in this kind of a law? And number 3, which is in some senses an even more sadder postscript, is that there are much bigger issues in the country at the moment. For example, what's going on in Manipur. And you have a state government that seems to be mindless about all this and focused on ensuring that public protests are not inclusive of dead bodies. And I think that's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And in fact, Kamruzaman Chaudhary, how can anybody justify this kind of a situation? I mean, one can understand if there was some, outwardly law and order problem happening because of it. But it's very clear. That is the failure to handle, several situations, including law and order ones, that is very clearly leading to this kind of a, what many would call a retrograde act being passed by the Rajasthan Assembly.
Madhav, are we discussing the bill itself, the honor of dead body? Or are we discussing a particular statement made by the minister on the floor of the House? There is a difference between the two.
Both are relevant to this debate, sir. The idea of the bill itself is reprehensible. What is even more reprehensible is calling it a dhanda. Protesting with your loved one's mortal remains is a dhanda. How dare the minister say that?
Now, for the benefit of you and your research team and the panelists and the nation, here is a document by the National Human Rights Commission, dated 14th May 2021, signed by Mr. Bhimbadar Pradhan, Secretary General of the National Human Rights Commission. Let me just read out to you. The National Human Rights Commission is mandated by the protection of the human rights to protect and promote the human rights of all human beings in the country. It is a well-accepted legal position that the right to life, fair treatment and dignity derived from the Article 21 of the Constitution of India extends not only to the living persons but also to the dead bodies. Keeping in view the large number of deaths during the second wave of COVID pandemic and challenges management of dead bodies, the Commission hereby issues the advisory for upholding the dignity and protecting the rights of the dead. Copy enclosed. This is a document, I believe it is a...
so you're saying, Kamruzaman Chaudhary, somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's father, somebody's mother is deliberately insulting the dead person. That's what you're saying. They are so insensitive, they're deliberately insulting their family members. What kind of logic are you giving us on national television?
No, what are you saying? Do you refute this?
No, but do you refute the democratic rights of a person enshrined in Article 19B of the Constitution, where right to assemble peaceably without arms?
No,
is this order not running foul of that, sir?
Madhav, let me just cite...
What are the constitutional rights that are guaranteed to a citizen in a democracy?
Convention 1949 clearly states, 1992 Cairo Declaration, UN Commission on Human Rights in a resolution adopted in 2005, UN's Inter-Agency Standing Committee Operation Guidelines on Human Rights and Natural Disaster, International Human Law Article 130/1 of the 4th Geneva Convention.
Kamruzaman Chaudhary, the pain and suffering of a common citizen who has to shake up the administration in this country, who nobody listens to, not the netas, not the babus, not the judges, nobody listens to until they protest with a dead body. That's the sad reality of this country. In 2023, this is what we've been reduced to in a country, and despite that, here is a government that wants to crush the democratic rights of these citizens. No other state government has issued this particular order or brought in a law. There may have been UN advisories, there may have been NHRC advisories, but they could have very well been ignored to crush dissent, the manner in which the Congress government is doing. Let me bring in fact, the BJP spokesperson, Rakhi Rathore. You made your point. Let Rakhi Rathore come in now. Rakhi Rathore, there's NHRC, there's UN. You made your point, let others also come in. There's NHRC, there's UN documents that are being quoted here by Kamruzaman Chaudhary to justify the action of the state government. What would you like to say to him?
But the fact of the matter is that, Manav, nobody would want to protest with the body if law and order situation is under control and justice is delivered. This is a very perfect situation, in fact, in which the situation would be like if nobody will love to, keep the body of their family member on the road and protesting, not performing last rites of the family member. And the question is that why such type of situations are arising? Because in last government, in last BJP tenure, around 50 such cases were registered. But in this government's tenure, 306 cases has been registered till date. The fact of the matter is that why these kind of situations are arising, why the government has miserably failed to control law and order situation here. I want to quote one example in Khajuwala. 2 policemen were involved in the rape case. Until and otherwise, the local people, they sat on a protest, they sat on a dharna. No action was taken on the policemen who were involved in this rape case. So what the other people, the common people are supposed to do? In fact, the other family members, if family members would be involved, they will be punished. But if any member apart from the family is there to share the grief of the family members, then he will be also punished according to this law. So I think this is not to be done. They should work. The government of Rajasthan, which is needed, which is the need of the hour, is that they should work upon the situation of law and order. In fact, today, the latest news is that they also sacked a minister who raised...
Yes, that's the breaking news coming in. That's the breaking news at the moment. Rajasthan Minister, in fact, Rajendra Gadda has been sacked after he highlighted rising crimes against women in the state. Let's listen to his comment for which he's been sacked. Quick update coming in there.
हो गए और ये राजस्थान में जिस तरीके से अत्याचार बढ़े हैं महिलाओं के ऊपर, मणिपुर के बजाय हमें अपने गिरेबान में झांकना है.
Gajraj joins us for more on this. He's reporting live from Jaipur. Gajraj, what's the official reason being given by the state government for this minister's sacking? Any word from the Chief Minister's office yet?
No, there are no words from the Chief Minister's office here, but it's pretty clear that being outspoken here and being saying things that would hurt would cost you. So it is once again it is proven, like Sachin Pilot's case. He had opened a front few months back, and then they get into a meeting in Delhi and everything gets sorted out. But this man Rajendra Gadda was always very outspoken about the problems which were arising in the Rajasthan government, and he had recently made a comment that Manipur ke baat karne se pehle safety, they were having a discussion in the assembly, and like according to sources, he had to pay the brunt for being truthful.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us. The dissenting minister has been sacked. It's just a matter of hours after he gave that comment that he's been sacked. Gajraj, thanks so much for joining us with that quick update. Let me take this across to Avishkar Singhvi. Avishkar Singhvi, of course, that was not in this context. There was a debate on women's safety, and of course, he refers to Manipur, referring to the law and order situation. But I want to take off from what Rakhi Rathore was just saying. You know, all of this stems from the inability to control law and order, it seems. Because just yesterday, we were reporting on a relative of Mr. Khachariawas, who, as we know, is a very powerful minister, who was caught on tape acting in a very high-handed manner. It's his nephew, I believe. So there is some kind of a thread running through all of this. And that is the failure to control law and order, which is leading the government to come up with such draconian legislations. Avishkar Singhvi.
Hi, Madhav. Good evening. Thank you for having me on your show. Sorry, I lost out in the beginning because there was a little bit of a connectivity issue. But on this, when I speak about this legislation specifically, we have to look at all these laws from a context in which they arise. Any law that is enacted has a rationale and a reason behind it. Of course, law and order, as you mentioned, is a different issue altogether. That's part of enforcement. But when we look at legislation itself per se and the constitutionality of a legislation, we have to look at what the objective, the statement of object, and the rationale or raison d'etre behind the legislation is. In this legislation, I feel that although it's come out as insensitive and harsh, but it has some facts and cases that have backed the initiation of this legislation. 2 or 3 issues, as one of the co-panelists has highlighted, from the Human Rights Commission, there was an old judgment, in fact, which is highlighted, which speaks about the rights of a dead body after the death. And it doesn't end with the body being alive. It also carries on after death. So that is one
no, I'm not denying any of
reason
that.
For this.
Avishkar, nobody is denying any of that. We've already gone through that. My question to you is this. Kasturi Shankar is raising her hand. She wants to come in on this. And Kasturi, I'm just coming to you in 30 seconds. I want Avishkar to answer one simple question, Avishkar. You know, at a time when the Congress party talks about the government throttling free speech, that democracy is in danger, so on and so forth, there's several such statements that have come in. In this particular instance, though, it does appear that you're crushing the democratic rights of a citizen to protest in the manner that he or she chooses to.
See, Madhav, Democrat, every right, constitutional right, if you understand as a lawyer, is subject to reasonable restrictions. So please understand that first. There is no fundamental right which is absolute in this country. Your right to free speech, your right to walk on the street, your right to even do any action is subject to reasonable restriction. First of all, I will remove the political chorus out of this issue. Let me talk legality first. First, if there is a protest and it causes a law and order situation, and if it's a fault of the government will pay for it. That's a different issue. But balancing the right of the dead with the right to protest, there has to be a very fine balance.
Okay.
That's
You're saying it's a delicate balancing act. Let's see if Kasturi Shankar agrees with you. She was nodding her head very vigorously. Kasturi Shankar.
She may not agree. She's entitled to her own viewpoint.
Yeah. Okay. Now you placed your view. Listening to our co-panelists now. Yeah.
Yes. I'm very touched by my co-panelists' emphatic argument for the right of dead people. Let me first remind you, sir, that the right of anyone dead or alive is the right to justice. When justice is denied, the family members, the survivors of the dead person are protesting for justice for the dead person. They are not protesting because they want freebies or extra compensation. They want a free and fair investigation. They want they want justice given to mete it out. They want such crimes of apathy not to be repeated in the future. They don't want other dead bodies where their own is being forced to be a prop while they sit and beg for justice. Calling it a protest itself gives it the connotation that it is somehow violent or armed, when the only weapon they have with them is their own self-dignity, which is attacked, and the body of their loved one. Are you suggesting that they are denying their own kin, their own family member, what is a duty? It is not a right of a dead
Absolutely.
body.
Would they not want dignity for their own loved ones? In this case, their parents, their children, their brothers, their sisters, siblings. It could be any relative of those individuals.
Madhav,
and let me take that question. Yeah.
Madhav, I want to add, in Rajasthan, 3 days of Manipur, everybody has been hearing it, and I have seen the leaders of Rajasthan stand up for the rights of people in Manipur, conveniently forgetting that they were the people behind AFSPA. That was the reason. There was a time in Manipur when people could not ask questions because they would be shot on sight. That was the rule. That is the reason they are forever banished from Manipur. And now, suddenly they are talking about the rights of dead people. They will only look at politics outside their state, but they will not look at the rights of people inside their state.
Right. Let me bring in Nisha Sidhu on that note. We're almost out of time. Nisha Sidhu, your quick response to what Kasturi Shankar is saying.
Can I also quickly respond?
भाई, जो आपके डिबेट में बैठे हुए लोग हैं, मुझे नहीं मालूम कितने लोग धरना प्रदर्शन के अंदर जाते हैं और कितने लोग ऐसे आंदोलनों का हिस्सा बने जहां डेड बॉडीज को लेके लोग पब्लिकली बैठे हैं। हम ऐसे आंदोलनों का हिस्सा रहे हैं, चाहे किसान आंदोलन हो, चाहे 2006 और 7 का पुलिस फायरिंग में मारे गए लोग हों, जो वसुंधरा राजे जी की भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार थी, तब हम एक किसान की बॉडी को लेके भी बैठे थे। पर मेरा बहुत ही स्पष्ट मानना है, ये बॉडी का डिसऑनर है। ऐसा ही राजस्थान के अंदर एक रिवायत है ट्राइबल बेल्ट के अंदर मुताना की। मुताना में भी वो पैसा मांगते हैं और तब तक बॉडी को डिस्पोज ऑफ नहीं करते, उसका क्रीमेशन नहीं करते हैं, वो कई दिन तक बॉडी रखी रहती है। तो अभी अगर बात करें तो मैं तो स्पष्ट कहना चाहती हूँ कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी के एक नेता है राजस्थान के अंदर एमपी है, आए दिन का उनका ये काम बन गया है, कोई भी जहां भी देखा।
Nisha Sidhu, completely out of time. You have a different perspective, of course. Very different views that have been expressed over here. The larger question, of course, and why we are debating this is whether, of course, dignity in democracy is also required. And of course, there is dignity to the dead that has to be maintained. But what about those citizens who are pushed to the corner, who have nowhere else to go, who have nothing else to do but take these extreme measures? Unfortunately, it's a sad reality of India today. We'll have to leave it there for the moment. I'd like to thank all our panelists, Rakhi Rathod, Dilip Cherian, Kasturi Shankar, Kamruzaman Chaudhary, Avishkar Singhvi and Nisha Sidhu for joining us this evening.